Hello and welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches making the big time where they're at. This week, our host, Coach Preston Peterson, brings to you a high school strength coach who is doing it big time in the high school setting. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this week's show.
Before we get to the show, I'd like to thank our sponsors. The first one is TeamBuildr. Thank you, TeamBuildr, for sponsoring today's episode. TeamBuildr is the leading software for high schools and colleges by providing coaches the ability to write programs online, generate over 13 reports, and even train athletes remotely for side income. Right now, if you sign up with the code BIGTIME, you'll receive a free APRE programming template, which works automatically within TeamBuildr. No more spreadsheets and workout cards to track training maxes that change day by day. You can automate your programming without outsourcing your programming with TeamBuildr. It is an awesome software. The guys at TeamBuildr have it going on. Hewitt is an awesome resource for everybody that is a high school strength and conditioning coach. There's not enough great things I can say about TeamBuildr and everything that they're doing for coaches around the nation. Our second sponsor for today's show is PowerLift. PowerLift is the leading manufacturer and distributor of heavy-duty strength training equipment for collegiate and high school athletic performance centers around the world. PowerLift brings over 20 years of experience to the strength and conditioning world, and all the products are manufactured in the state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Jefferson, Iowa. They are proud to support all coaches making it big time where they're at, and I cannot say enough great things about these two sponsors. PowerLift in general, from my college days to where I'm at now, PowerLift has been our rack. I'm telling you guys, there is not a more durable rack out there. If you go to Northwest Missouri State, you check out the racks there. They've had them probably for close to 15, 20 years now, and they still look like they're brand new. The racks that we have within our weight room, nice, pristine. It does not show wear and tear at all. And the thing about it is when you buy PowerLift, you are getting heavy duty. This stuff is rugged and it will last. And when you're looking for training equipment that's going to be used by multiple teams, multiple student athletes every single day, it's important to have the best. So thank you to our sponsors, TeamBuildr and PowerLift. Now let's get to our show. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Big Time Strength Podcast. Today, I have the opportunity to interview Coach Amanda Berg up in Minnesota, and she is doing an awesome job. She's actually, just so that everybody knows, this is take two for us, and it's not because of her fault. It was definitely my fault, and she is gracious enough and was willing to record again for us, and I know it's going to be a great show. I talked to her all the way through one time. Amazing stuff. I was blown away. So you guys will have a great episode to listen to. At the end, we'll have all of her contact information to reach out. I know there's going to be tons of coaches that will want to. So, Coach, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Preston. I'm excited to be here.
The second portion of this little bit of the intro is just asking you where you've been so far, kind of your background to this point, and then now where you're at.
Sure. All right. Well, I have been at Dassel-Cokato High School, a high school in Minnesota, for 13 years now. This is my first and only strength and conditioning job, so it's been definitely been a good one. I got into strength and conditioning a lot when I went to college. I was a softball player, and when we were put on a weight program when we got to college, so it was the first time I'd really worked out with a purpose, and I really enjoyed it. So I kind of started getting into it and going on my own time. I had a coaching class, and it was a kinesiology type of class, and I really started to like that. So after my freshman year, I kind of decided to change my major to health and human performance, and started working in the weight room, started working with some teams, and I just really liked that atmosphere. So made plans to kind of go the college strength and conditioning route. I'd say then along the way, though, I also had joined the National Guard as a way to pay for school, and my intention was to pay for school with it, but this was before 9/11. But through that, I also got really into fitness training and leading fitness training and running fitness tests. So I really found that I just really enjoyed that. Made it through a lot of 4 years of school, kind of got myself set up, ready to go, and then after 9/11 and after a lot of stuff. So then I spent actually, instead of grad school, I went on 2 deployments. So I spent most of 2003 all the way up to 2006, kind of in and out of deployment. So big change. And through that time, I think I was, I spent my job was a truck driver. And actually I spent all of 2005 in Iraq driving military personnel, vehicles in and out of Iraq. So it's very different than the strength and conditioning world. And I think it was very beneficial, though. I really learned about leading, and I was lucky to have a big fitness leadership role running our company's fitness tests, and just really learning a lot about logistics and moving a lot of people. So that was, it was definitely a different time, stressful time, but a lot of life lessons from it.
That's an awesome background to flow right into leading people, obviously, every day at your high school. And, like at the beginning of a career in strength and conditioning 13 years ago, you wanted to build a culture and you wanted to get your strength and conditioning program moving in the right direction. What did it look like at the beginning, and then where's it at now?
Well, at the beginning, I was originally hired. I saw a want ad in the town that I was living in, which is 5 miles from my hometown. I had gotten married along the way, and I had actually went back to school to get my physical education degree because I married somebody from my hometown, and there's no colleges around here. So it's like, well, what do we do now? So I thought, well, maybe I'll do a physical education and see where that goes. So I had gotten my physical education degree. I did not have a job yet, but I knew I still loved strength and conditioning, and there was actually a want ad for a fall weight room supervisor. And I thought, well, maybe this would be a great place to start. So I called them, asked about it, the athletic director, and the athletic director actually said, well, we just had a FIED position open up, and we're hoping to offer it to that person. So literally that day, somebody had called me and said, there's a FIED position open. I think you should apply for this. And it was about 2 weeks before school. And so I applied for it. Within 2 days, went through the interview process, and I got hired for the job. The job was actually teaching a strength and conditioning class and other physical education classes. So called the athletic director up and said, I got that job. Now can I be the strength coach? And kind of started through there. So it was actually the first year that position had been available. So I was very lucky. And I got to start our program from scratch. So it's definitely evolved, and it's gotten pretty big, and it's just a great career field now.
Coach, can you describe your school just a little bit? Can give us a background of what it looks like maybe on a daily basis, and how big of a school you are, and maybe how big your classes are?
Sure. Dassel-Cokato is about 700 students. We are on trimesters, which is, I really enjoy being on trimesters. So we have 5 periods in a day. I teach usually 2 to 3 strength periods during each trimester. And then we have our athletes actually train before or after school. So students can take strength and conditioning, and they could also be in before and after school. So we're not able to train our athletes during the school day, but it's a way, though, that we can get a lot of people into the room. So
that's awesome. That's a cool setup to have the trimesters and kind of correspond with each season, right? That's got to be nice that way. You are probably coming off the first trimester, moving into the second trimester here. What does that look like to get a new bunch of students rolling again?
Yeah, we're just started actually this week, so it works out really good. Our football program actually just ended, and now we're into our winter program. So kids are kind of starting over. They're starting their new strengthening, lifting with new teams, and it works out really good because when we start out the new trimester, we really go back to the basics each time. We start over with our teams, and then in our strength and conditioning classes, we're starting with the introduction phase. So it works out really good that students kind of get to go back each trimester and start over a little bit, and we really get to check on their form, get to check them out, and So that works out really good.
So, Coach, you have 700 students at your school. You got before and after school. You got athletes and non-athletes all going on. What's a way that you like to organize and optimize your training? Is there some tools or resources that you turn to for that?
Well, definitely. Well, first off, I try to get everybody in the weight room I can. I kind of have a slogan in there. I have a sign up in our weight room that says, "You belong here." So it doesn't matter if they are middle school. It doesn't matter if they are varsity level. We try to get them into the weight room, So we're lucky to have a after-school program that anybody can come to. It's a free program. So if I see somebody in the hallway, I'm like, "Hey, you should be lifting with us. You want to come lift with us?" And it's worked out really good that way. So we really try and get as many kids as we can into the room at a given time. But having said that, I never really know how many kids I'm going to have because it's a choice program for them to do. So some days we might have 25. The other day we had 68 kids. And so one thing that's really helped with us is we've started using Team Builder, and I love it. I would never go back. I'm definitely on that bandwagon. It's been really great. And we actually were able to approve it through our FIED curriculum funds, which is nice that I teach FIED as well. And so we have it with our curriculum funds, we were able to get it for 7 years. So we're in it for the long haul. And it has really helped as far as just keeping track of students being on different programs. Somebody could be, I can keep track of where they're training with. We can put them on the off season. And, most of the programs are very similar, but it's nice to know which lifting groups and how many kids we have. So that's been really helpful. The timing system that Team Builder has, it's been a game changer for us. Almost all of our classes and all of our before and after school programs, we put them on a timing system now. So that's been definitely a big part.
That's awesome, Coach. You talked about like the program before and after school being optional, and obviously during the school day, it's somewhat optional too. There must be other options for physical education. So what's it look like to really find ways to motivate kids to get in the weight room? What are some of the things that you're doing to see that happen?
To see that happen, to get them into the weight room, I think giving them a good base really, really helps. So I think the culture of our school at Dassel-Cokato is kids know about the weight room. We're lucky enough, we're right by the middle school. So in the wintertime, because I said we're on trimesters, I trade a day of class with one of the junior high teachers, and the junior high, actually, they have all the kids. So, for instance, for us, it's every Thursday, I'll take all the middle school kids, and then the middle school teacher will take all my students for the day, and then we get all those kids into the weight room. And they're on every other day. So if we do it for about 12 weeks, they usually end up getting between 4 to 5 sessions in. And that's really nice. If they get that from 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, by the time they get to 9th grade, they know how to squat, they know how to move, and it's just common language. It really helps. So they feel very comfortable to be in there because they've been in there for the last 4 years. So that's been a really helpful way of kind of feeding our program and making those 9th graders feel really comfortable. We also offer a youth program, which has been fun. We started it about 10 years ago, and actually some of our students are graduating right now who are our first students, so it's been a lot of fun watching that and seeing their video over the years. But that would be from 2nd to 6th grade. We do that in the summer, and then we try and offer a mini camp, maybe in the fall, maybe in the spring, where students who are younger, and we teach them just a lot of the basics.
That's awesome. You want to dive into that just a little bit more? The summer program, and then how you say that kind of is lengthened out a little bit more than the mini camps, right? Can you explain some of the things that you're doing, what it looks like for maybe a day in the life of a young Charger, and see what it's like to go to camp?
Sure, yeah, and we call it Charge Up, right? And that's kind of the concept with it is get them ready. So main thing is we focus on keeping it fun. We kind of try to have a lot of energy with it and just run it where it's fun. So instead of a warm-up, we'll usually start with a tag style of game, and we'll try and bring in, maybe lunges or split jumps or something that would be put into a dynamic warm-up, but put it into a game format. So we'll start that usually about the first 10 minutes. And then whatever group that we have, we try and split them up if we have another coach. So we'll take our younger group and we'll bring them to maybe do some sort of speed and agility type of thing, some hurdles, some cones, some, just cutting side to side. So something athletic performance. And then we'll take half the kids into the weight room, and pretty basic kind of. We're lucky we go through progression, so we keep it pretty light, keep it kind of fun. That's a good time to use like the dumbbells, the kettlebells, the light bars, and we bought a whole bunch of light bars and a whole bunch of big 5-pound bumper plates, so they kind of feel like they're lifting, and it's kind of fun. They're only lifting about 20 pounds, so that's been fun to watch them with that. And then, so we'll keep them in there, and it's usually never more than 20 minutes, switch them up, do the other group, and then we always finish with some sort of game. So we try and keep it fun. We try to keep it moving fast, and hopefully they have a good relationship with the weight room by the time they get to junior high.
Oh, that's really cool. I think the opportunities that you're throwing out there for students to get to know the weight room is such a cool deal, and like the trade from the middle school to the high school, that's something that like I want to implement starting as soon as possible. We're on the same campus anyway, so during the winter we might have to trudge through the snow, but for the most part it should work out pretty smooth. So that's a really cool way to get people involved and get used to the weight room. With the opportunity to train so many people, right? So second graders all the way through 12th graders get to see tastes of the program at least, and obviously all the high schoolers are with you for the whole year. What's it look like for your programming? How are you organizing that? What are some of your go-to methodologies? If somebody were going to go through your program, could you just like explain what it'd be like for them?
Sure. I'd say, a game changer for us has been the tier programming. What a gem Joe Kent had with that book, right? One book that has changed with the coach's strength training playbook. And I hear a lot of coaches that are using that, and a lot of them talk about a modified tier program, which I think the reason being it's so easy to modify and so easy to bring into every program. So we're definitely doing that. It's been awesome. Instead of, thinking about lists now, with, what he taught with the tier program is thinking of movements. So we're on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday program for us as far as the weight room, or our athletes train 2 days a week, and then if they're off season, then it would be the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we would focus on pretty much 4 movements, a lower body pull, a lower body push, an upper body press, and then an upper body pull, or something posterior-wise. And with that, we can, if we focus on those movements each day, we can change it for each level that we're at. Maybe we're doing a kettlebell squat with our young kids. We're on front squat with our older kids, and we could be doing single leg squat if it's their second time that they're lifting that day. So that's been really nice that you can just interchange what the students are doing by focusing on those movements. So, and then we always start out with a progression after, a warm up of some sort, and we start out with progressions, which I got from Coach Ryan Johnson years ago. And that really helps to teach it, to get the kids moving, and so we can kind of see where the imbalances are, and we can talk to them about technique during those progressions, and then we start our lifting program. So our tier 1 is pretty light. Tier 2 is focusing usually on like a lower body pull, a clean of some sort, an upper body press, so either, some sort of a bench press, an overhead press, and then tier 3 usually focuses on some lower body push, so a squat, and then an upper body pull, so something, pull-ups, bent over row, something for their back. So, and that's worked out really good that we're hitting all the body parts up to 3 days a week.
Yeah, the organization that the tier system provides, just to have categories like that is a great way to formulate how you want to go about, like giving athletes a solid program, right? In a way that you know that you're hitting all your bases, and you have a system for doing it. And I think that's such a cool deal. We use kind of a modified version also, right? Just a little bit different than what Coach Ken is talking about, even a little bit different than how you do it. And that's kind of the nice part about it, is you can set it up for your situation, for your weight room, for your layout, for your kids. So I think that's such a cool deal. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the things that you're doing as far as getting kids in the weight room, and then doing you mentioned something about like a letter program and all the ways that basically they can earn a varsity letter by hitting a certain amount of attendance days. What is that program, and can you explain that? Because I found that one really, really cool.
Sure. Yeah, we have, I said we list on Wednesday, Friday is our off-season program, and then also our athletes will lift either a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, depending on when their competitions are. So if a student, we kind of went through the numbers, and if a student comes 60 times, so the equivalent of twice a week, we keep track of their attendance, and if they come 60 times over the school year, we have end of the year banquet, called breakfast banquet, and where we do our awards, and then students can also earn a varsity letter for coming 60 times and participating in our program. And that's just a way to, those off-season athletes, they don't have to be there, and it's free. So something to kind of motivate them to keep track of their number, and they're keeping track each week and seeing how close that they get. And it's fun to see, especially, students who may not be the best athletically. Well, they're coming in extra time, and they're taking extra effort to put in a few extra days here and there. And it's fun to see them get that varsity letter at the end of the year. We do it 7th through 12th grade. So we always have a younger crew that'll also try and get in there. So we usually have about 4 or 5 7th and 8th graders that'll letter in a year. And that's fun to see them get celebrated with the seniors. So that's good. We also focus a lot on awards, as far as related to attendance. And then students who get that attendance, and they get put in the pool for Lifter of the Year, Spotter of the Year. And then we also have what we call Future Legacy Awards. So a younger student could get voted into that. So just a way to get them to feel a part of something, if they're not necessarily in the sport, and to celebrate them. So we started that probably, years ago, and it's been fun to see kids work hard to get there.
That's awesome stuff, Coach. I think those are some really cool tools that coaches can think about possibly implementing in their programs. One of the things that you mentioned prior to the show is possibly getting into what it looks like for each one of your classes. So you have like a male class, a female class, maybe just the different ways that you separate, organize, and that type of stuff. Would you like to go a little bit into that?
Sure. Yeah. Originally, we had just had the strength and conditioning class, and we could see kids had started taking it, multiple times, and we're trying to take it each year. So we started an advanced strength and conditioning, and then we also started a college credit strength and conditioning through a college about 50 miles from us. And then we started a female strength and conditioning program, or not really program, but just class. So the class is the same format, everything's the same, except it would be offered only for females. And it has been amazing, the number of females that have come. Usually in a class before, I would have 1 to 2 females. We would probably train in a year, maybe 10 females that had taken strength and conditioning. And now each year we have 2 full classes. So just with female strength and conditioning, we're getting over 40 girls a year. Plus, females can also choose to take strength and conditioning. And because of so many have that comfort level, a lot of them are taking the regular strength, with knowing that it'll be mostly males, they're also taking that one. So that's been, something as an athlete, I wouldn't have thought would happen, because a lot of times when you're a weight room person, you're a weight room person, and I did not think of those barriers. And somebody else actually brought it to my attention. And so after we took away those barriers, and we give, the female athletes, or, females, a lot of them aren't even athletes, that take the class, when they learn those lifts, they learn that, okay, I'm good at this, and they get their feedback that they're good. Their confidence when they walk in the room is amazing. So I guess from experience, I would suggest if you have a female sports team or a class where you can just do females, even if just for a short amount of time, I'd say 2 weeks where they get that comfort level, it's huge. And then when you mix the classes, they have a lot of confidence. They don't go hide in the corner anymore. So that has been one of the biggest things that I've been excited about, getting more females into it. So it's been very beneficial.
That's a cool way to get that going, Coach. And I think one of the coolest things at any place is when you can get the student body across the board, male, female, athlete, non-athlete, just anyone, to feel welcome, to feel comfortable, and to feel confident. Mm-hmm. That's an awesome situation for the program, no doubt, but also for the school culture. And I think, depending on your school and all that type of stuff, I really believe that strength and conditioning classes, the PE program in general, can affect that culture in a big way, just because of the confidence level that is seen from students anywhere. It's a awesome thing that you've got rolling there, Coach. And one of the other things I wanted to ask you about is kind of your vision for your program in the future, maybe your overall vision for the future of strength and conditioning. What does that look like for you?
The future of strength and conditioning. Well, I think I'd like to see, going along those lines, I'd like to see definitely more females, so we find a way in the strength and conditioning world to do kind of do the same thing. We usually, a lot of us are going to these conferences now, and the numbers are still low as far as females, and I'd say maybe 10 to 1. I don't know. What do you think? You've been to some of the conferences?
I would say that'd probably be right on. Maybe, I remember I went up to Ryan Johnson. It was the Mid-America a couple years ago, and I'm pretty sure you were there at that one. And I would say there was maybe 5 strength and conditioning coaches that were girls that were there. And there was a few coaches that came in that Coach Johnson brought in that he works with, but it's something that at the high school level, especially, I think there's not as many females, and I think maybe at the college level it might start to be shifting a little bit. I've worked with a good amount of female strength and conditioning coaches, but maybe not at all at the high school level. So what are your thoughts?
Myself, it's hard to find somebody who is in a similar situation. It's fun to go to the conferences and, start to find them. And one thing that I would say that's been huge for me is, as a female, sometimes it takes a reputable male coach to be in your corner, this coach has got it, and that really helps. And I've had so many coaches that have been so great that way, and I think it just gives a confidence. Or if a coach looking for somebody, kind of suggesting some of the females, because as a female, sometimes maybe they don't apply for the jobs that are out there, and if we can find them, if we can find them and say, oh, I think you should look into this, and I think that would be great. Last year, it was awesome. At the national conference, there was a female roundtable discussion group, and there was just so much great conversation and promotion, and male coaches that were so positive about it. And I remember we talked as female coaches, but one of the biggest statements I remember, Coach John McKenna, who was in the Hall of Fame last year, he said, "This is amazing." And he said, "From now on, I am going to make sure that I try and hire 50%, working with my athletes." I'm like, yes, that's it. That's what it takes. Somebody with, who's been around a long time saying, this is Coach. You need to make sure that you listen to her too. So I thought that was great. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take the male coaches out there saying, this is a great coach. Not necessarily this is a great female coach. This is a great coach. You should listen. You should listen to her. And having females work with male athletes. We raise sons, right? Male coaches raise daughters. We need to be doing the same thing in the strength and conditioning world. So that's my kind of, maybe on a soapbox a little bit, but my appeal. Male coaches, you got to kind of find those great coaches and build them up and let them know that they can lead both male and female groups. So I don't know if we kind of got off there, but I get pretty excited about that.
No, I think that's great. I think one of the schools that's doing a really good job of that in general is Denton Geyer down in Texas. I don't know if you've heard Kyle Keys speak before. We've had him on the show. But Rachel Hayes is the other strength coach there. And she works, I think, with like primarily a lot of female sports, but she also works with the male sports. You know, like I think she's like basketball and a couple other ones. And it's like they've got a really cool thing rolling where you've got people that really know their stuff. Like I would suggest to follow both of those accounts for everybody that's listening and just see what they're doing and how they're implementing. It's pretty awesome to see. But I think there should be an influx in high school strength and conditioning coaches that are female. And I think just from my perspective, being in Iowa, I think like strength and conditioning at the high school level is going to continue to expand. It's in Iowa, it's blowing up where there's more and more of those positions open. And I think that's a huge opportunity for strength and conditioning coaches around the nation, you know. And if we have the opportunity to have strength and conditioning coaches that are male and female at every school, that would be an ideal way to be able to connect with all of our athletes in different ways.
Definitely ideal. And one thing good about, you know, strength and conditioning is we know that sports-wise, we're going to have 50%, right? We're going to have 50% female. We're going to have 50% male. So, yes, I'd like to see the strength and conditioning world follow that. So, yeah,
no doubt. What about, you know, like just overall, 13 years of being a strength and conditioning coach? It takes a lot of perseverance, a lot of brainstorming, problem solving, all that type of stuff. About just any other hurdles that you've had to overcome to be where you're at now, and then also kind of flowing into that, and you know, like you can separate these out if you want to question wise, but flowing into that, how have you made the big time where you're at? And I love hearing how coaches answer these questions. It's just overcoming adversity and making the big time.
Well, let's go. You know, toughest hurdle. Not to focus on it too much, but I think definitely at the beginning it was my gender, you know, and it was not just that, it was isolation. You know, I started in the industry before probably the social media aspect. I started in the industry before there was high school coaches really getting together too much. You know, there was clinics, but it was a lot of private sector. It was a lot of college coaches. And so I think isolation and, you know, but working with male coaches at the beginning was a little bit harder. I mean, I definitely had a good group of coaches on my end, but just kind of proving myself took probably longer than it should have taken, proving that what we're doing is right. You know, I still get feedback from that with parents, you know, just saying, is this the right thing that students should be doing and athletes should be doing? So I think that hurdle, I feel like I've definitely on the downward slope of it, hit the peak probably about 5 years into my career, and it's just been getting better and better. And the more that we can see other coaches and talk with other coaches, and I can learn like, oh, okay, other coaches are having this stress as well, and not necessarily male or female, just all coaches in general. So that's been very, very helpful, is just the social network that we've created in the last few years related to high school strength and conditioning. So that's definitely been a hurdle, but we're over it. So
that's great. All right, moving into that question of how you're making the big time where you're at. The cool part of my job is being able to hear coaches across the nation answer this, and there's so many different ways to answer this. But one of the things that I have seen from you is just your willingness to attack things and put together programs and really give a ton of effort to your school. Your school of 700 students, that they're getting the best of you every day. What does it look like to make the big time?
I feel like I'm at the big time. You know, I think I'm 13 years in, if this is how I finish out my career, I will definitely be satisfied with it. You know, my goal is to be the best strength coach at Dassel-Cokato High School. You know, I don't really have any other plans to go anywhere else. This is my hometown. This is where our roots are with our family. So I think I've made it at the big time, and the only place to go from here is to make our school and our program better and better each year. So I think, some people are reaching for the big time. I feel like I'm there. I love it. I love what I do. I love, there's definitely challenges each day, but I love it. This is what any future stuff that I learn that I do, it's always going to be for making Dassel-Cokato better.
That's awesome. That's great. Not only for your student athletes, but for your community. I think that stability is such a huge deal. And I think that the ability to stay in one location and pour into building a culture, building a legacy, that's really fun. That's awesome that you can impact that many people. So congratulations, Coach, for that. That's really cool. How about moving into some of these finisher questions, and just they're quick questions that kind of let us know a little bit more of what you like, some of the things, maybe what to read or people that have influenced you. And then at the end, we can get your contact information to make sure everybody can reach out to you. You ready to roll?
Great. Let's do it.
Awesome. Coach, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book? Well, I think typical strength coach in that way. I do love to read and always kind of looking definitely and seeing what other people are reading. I'm also big into fiction. Sometimes I feel like you can learn your biggest lessons from fiction books. But I think the biggest book that has hit me, that's been my game changer, is the book called Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, who works with Facebook. And in her book, she's talking about female, CEOs and being a female CEO in a very male-dominated world, and what are we going to do to get more females in that industry? And it really mirrors what's going on with strength and conditioning right now. And the biggest piece there's two big pieces of advice. One, she says, step up to the table. You have to do it. You cannot try and somebody else say, oh, come on, what's your idea? You got to be willing to give your ideas and sit at that table. And the other one is said we have to support other women in the industry. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies, right? And you have that female that works well with the males, but he said no, if we need to support other females and get them in with us. So that was a game changer for me, and I think I've been using things from that book for years. I read it probably, I think 5 years ago now, but it always sticks out in my mind.
There's always, you find that book that just starts to change your perspective, and it's great when you have those, because it's a lot of times they're simple ideas, but they're profound, and they change the way that you look at life, and I think that's great. How about a person that's influenced you the most?
Oh, I got to give a shout out to RJ, Coach Ryan Johnson from Wayzata High School. We were lucky enough, before the social media, RJ had his parents kind of have a place out by us, and he was willing to come out. Oh, it's probably been, it was one of my first years, so probably 12 years ago, and he came out and he talked to our athletes. He talked with us about what's going on at Wayzata, which still is, but who just winning and winning. Wayzata was just winning so many things, and he was very busy, and that was our game changer. That was our, okay, we can do this, and he just has been the biggest supporter in our area for so long. So, and Wayzata High School, if you haven't heard of it, is it's a powerhouse in Minnesota, and actually where the national conference is going to be next year for National High School. So, Strength Coaches Association, yeah.
Yes, that's great. If you have the opportunity, make sure you get there. That's awesome stuff. I'm excited to go this summer, and I think you were telling me about Minnesota has more shoreline than California. That's a definite bonus that way too. So
yeah, that's our big claim to fame is lots of lakes, and Minnesota is awesome in the summer. And it's just, yes, get to Minnesota. You will enjoy it.
How about, Coach, your favorite quote?
Favorite quote? Mine's pretty simple. One that years ago, but it's no deposit, no return. I think, actually like from a Coke bottle, right? Back in the day when we used to recycle. But I think it's something I always kind of go back to is that nobody owes me anything, right? I have to work for everything that I have. And if, sometimes it might get down or I don't know. It's just always a quote that kind of gets me right. Like, no, you need to work for this, right? You need to work harder for it. So, yep, put the time in to get the return.
That's a great quote. That one's probably going to have to go up on my wall now. How about,
pretty simple, yeah.
Yeah. I think those are the ones that our students can relate to the most too. So I'm going to get that one up on the weight room wall. The last question I have is a fun one because it allows us just to keep on reaching out to more coaches. How about a small school coach who's killing it and deserves a shout out? And that can be any high school coach or small college coach.
Man, I gotta give a shout out to my girl Jessica Gust. She's a strength coach in Minnesota at St. Louis Park High School, and she's actually a science teacher and also runs their strength and conditioning program. And what she has done has been amazing over the last few years. And she's also been there, one who's been there for a long time, and just her scientific knowledge, she's kind of my go-to related to the scientific part. Her scientific knowledge with strength and conditioning is amazing, above and beyond anything that I could ever imagine. So she's one who's been around a long time, and she's absolutely killing it.
We're definitely going to have to reach out to her. She, I think she might have been at the same, I think I met both of you guys, or at least said hi to you guys, up at Wyzetta a couple years ago. So that will be an awesome guest to have on. The last little section here, Coach, is just ways for people to reach out to you, to learn more, to know more about your situation, and to be able to implement a lot of the programs that you're doing or pick your brain at all. So, Coach, what's the best way to do that?
Let's see. Well, I'm on definitely on Twitter. And it is at Charger Tough. So we're the Chargers, at Charger Tough. Instagram, Charger Tough as well. Email-wise, it is amanda.berg@dc.k12.mn.us. So, yes, reach out. I'd love to talk about it. And if you want to make a formal invite, anybody, if you're coming to the national conference and you want to see kind of a smaller school, you're welcome to come and visit, and we'd love to have you at that time.
That's an awesome opportunity for people. I think the day before and after the clinic is awesome time just to reach out to people and go see their situation. So that's a great invite there, Coach. Thank you.
Yes. Thank Coach, you so much for this opportunity.
Well, that's what I was gonna tell you that first, actually. So you stole it. That was good. So thank you for coming on, Coach. It was a great show. The programs that you're implementing all the way from the second grade to the letter program to trading with the middle school to just making the big time where you're at. It's all awesome stuff, and I'm excited to implement this stuff. So thank you, Coach.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Preston.
You have a good day.
All right. Thank you.